Kogitsune-maru, the Sacred Sword, by Japanese Folktales. Brought to you by TellStory.net, stories from around the world. In the days when Emperor Ichijo ruled the realm from his palace in Kyoto, there lived along the third great avenue of Sanjo a master swordsmith named Minakika. His reputation for crafting blades of extraordinary beauty and strength had spread throughout the provinces, and nobles from distant lands sought his work. Yet for all his skill, Minakika remained humble, understanding that true mastery came not from pride in one's abilities, but from reverence for the sacred craft itself. One autumn morning, as golden leaves drifted through the streets of the capital, an imperial oxguard arrived at Minakika's modest forge. From it emerged Tachibana no Michinari, a court noble bearing the emperor's seal. Minakika set down his hammer and bowed deeply as the envoy approached.
"Are you the swordsmith Minakika?"
"I am honored to be called such, Lord Tachibana."
"Then hear the Emperor's command. His Majesty has dreamed of a blade that shines with the light of heaven itself, a sword worthy of protecting the realm from all darkness. You have been chosen to forge this weapon. The work must begin immediately."
Minakika's heart swelled with both honor and trepidation. To receive an imperial commission was the highest achievement any craftsman could aspire to, yet he understood the immense responsibility it carried.
"My lord, I am deeply grateful for His Majesty's trust. However, I must speak truthfully. To forge a blade worthy of the Emperor requires not just skill, but also an assistant of exceptional ability to work the steel alongside me. At present, I have no such helper at my forge."
"If you require an assistant, then find one. The Emperor does not accept delays or excuses. Prepare yourself, Minakika. I shall return in 7 days to witness the beginning of your work."
The envoy departed, leaving Minakika alone with the weight of an impossible task. He had spoken no more than the truth. The forging of a blade of imperial quality demanded two masters working in perfect harmony, their hammer strikes synchronized like the beating of a single heart. Without such a partner, even his considerable skill would fall short of creating something truly worthy of the throne. As evening descended over Kyoto, Minakika found himself walking south along the winding paths that led to Fushimi, where the great shrine of Inari stood among the wooded hills. The approach was marked by countless vermilion torii gates, each one a prayer in wood and lacquer, forming a path between the mortal world and the realm of the divine. Minakika passed through these sacred gates as twilight deepened, his footsteps echoing softly on the stone pathway. At the main shrine, he prostrated himself before the altar and prayed with complete sincerity.
"Great Inari, guardian of rice and harvest, protector of craftsmen and merchants, I come before you in humble need. The Emperor has commanded me to forge a blade, but I cannot accomplish this task alone. If it is within your divine will, please grant me assistance that I might honor both His Majesty's trust and the sacred traditions of my craft."
Minakika remained in prayer as darkness fell completely, until only the shrine's lanterns glowed in the night. Finally, exhausted and uncertain, he rose to depart. As he turned toward the path home, a voice called out from the shadows between the torii gates.
"You are Minakika of Sanjo, are you not?"
The swordsmith stopped, surprised. From the dimness emerged a young boy, perhaps 12 years of age, dressed in the simple clothing of a shrine attendant. Yet there was something unusual about him. His eyes seemed to reflect the lantern light with an almost animal brightness, and he moved with a peculiar grace.
"I am. But how do you know my name, young one? I don't recall seeing you before."
"You have come seeking help to forge a sword for Emperor Ichijo, have you not? A blade that must shine with divine light and possess the strength to protect the realm?"
"How could you possibly know this? I have told no one, but—"
"The gods hear all prayers spoken with a sincere heart. I understand your concern, Master Minakika. You are right that such a blade cannot be forged alone. But I bring you good news: when you prepare your forge according to the ancient purification rites, you will find that you are not alone. An assistant will come to work beside you.
Before Minakika could ask more, the boy bowed and vanished back into the shadows between the torii gates, disappearing as suddenly as he had appeared. The swordsmith hurried after him, but found only empty paths and silent gates. It was as if the boy had been no more substantial than moonlight. Wondering if exhaustion had caused him to imagine the encounter, Minakika returned home. Yet the boy's words had planted a seed of hope in his heart. Whatever their source, divine message or fevered imagination, they had given him a path forward. The next morning, Minakika began his preparations. He bathed in the cold water of his well, washing away all impurities of body and spirit. He dressed in pure white robes, unmarked by ash or soot. He swept his forge until not a speck of old coal dust remained, then surrounded his anvil platform with sacred Shimenawa ropes adorned with paper streamers, marking the space as holy ground. For 3 days he continued these purifications, eating only rice and vegetables, drinking only pure water, reciting prayers at dawn and dusk. He selected his finest steel, iron that had been folded and refined until it sang with potential. He prepared his tools, cleaning each hammer and tongs with reverent care. On the morning of the 4th day, as the first light touched the eastern sky, Minakika entered his purified forge and knelt before the anvil.
If divine assistance is to be granted, let it come now, that we may create something worthy of the Emperor's faith.
He stood and began to build his fire, carefully arranging the charcoal. As the flames caught and grew, casting dancing shadows on the forge walls, Minakika became aware of a presence behind him. He turned to find the boy from the shrine standing at the entrance to the forge, now dressed not in shrine attendant's clothes but in a smith's apron and work garments. The boy bowed formally.
I have come as promised, Master Minakika. Shall we begin?
Minakika's breath caught in his throat. Now, in the growing light of the forge fire, he could see what he had only sensed before. There was something not quite human about this helper. The boy's movements carried an otherworldly fluidity, and his eyes held depths of knowledge that no child should possess. Over the forge fire, Minakika could have sworn he saw the shadow of fox ears and tail, flickering in and out of view.
Great Inari, you honor me beyond all measure.
Rise, Master Minakika. We have work to do, and the steel waits for no one. Your prayers were heard, and your sincerity of heart has earned you this assistance. Now let us forge a blade worthy of both Emperor and Heaven.
Together they began the sacred work of sword-making. Minakika placed the prepared steel into the heart of the fire, watching as it heated to the perfect color, not quite white, not quite yellow, but the shade that spoke of readiness to any master smith. He withdrew it and placed it on the anvil, raising his hammer. The boy, without a word of instruction, raised his own hammer in mirror image. And then they began to strike. It was like nothing Minakika had ever experienced. The boy's hammer fell in perfect synchronization with his own, as if they shared a single mind. When Minakika knew the steel needed a lighter touch, the boy's strike lightened. When greater force was required, both hammers fell with identical strength. They moved together like a dance rehearsed for 1,000 years, the ringing of steel on steel creating a melody that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of creation. The steel folded and refolded under their combined efforts, impurities burning away in the forge fire, the metal becoming stronger and purer with each heating and hammering. Patterns began to emerge in the steel, lines that flowed like water, like wind, like the very essence of sharpness made visible. They worked through the day and into the night, the divine assistant never tiring, never needing direction. When Minakika shaped the blade's curve, the boy held it at precisely the right angle. When the edge needed drawing out, their hammers sang in perfect harmony. The forge fire itself seemed to burn with unusual brightness, as if blessed by divine presence. As dawn broke on the 5th day, the blade was formed, straight and true, with a curve as elegant as a new moon and an edge that seemed to shimmer with inner light. The surface bore patterns like frozen starlight, testament to the perfect folding and refinement of the steel. Munekika held the blade up to the morning sun, and it seemed to glow with its own radiance.
It is finished. Such beauty. I could never have created this alone.
Every great work requires both skill and inspiration. You provided the skill, Master Munekika. I merely helped channel the inspiration that flows from devotion and humility.
Munekika carefully inscribed his signature on the tang of the blade, Kokaji Munekika, Little Smith Munekika, the name by which he was known. Then, with deep gratitude, he turned the blade and on the reverse side carefully chiseled 2 more characters, Kogitsune, Little Fox.
This blade was not forged by my hands alone. It would be dishonest not to acknowledge the divine assistance that made it possible.
The moment he completed the final stroke of the signature, the boy smiled, and before Munekika's eyes, he began to fade like morning mist. For just an instant, the swordsmith saw not a boy but a magnificent fox with fur like burnished gold, its eyes filled with ancient wisdom and divine power. Then even that vision faded, leaving Munekika alone in his forge with the completed blade. When Tachibana no Michinari returned as promised, Munekika presented the sword with proper ceremony, the blade wrapped in silk and laid upon a tray of hinoki wood. The moment the envoy unwrapped the silk and beheld the blade, his eyes widened in wonder.
I have never seen such craftsmanship. This is truly a sword that carries divine blessing.
It is called Kogitsune-maru, the little fox blade. May it serve His Majesty well.
When the sword was presented to Emperor Ichijo, it is said that the emperor recognized immediately that he held not merely a weapon, but a work of sacred art. The blade seemed to emanate a gentle light, and when he held it, he felt as though he were protected by the divine powers themselves. The sword Kogitsune-maru became one of the great treasures of the imperial court, passed down through generations of noble families. Its story became legend, retold in poems and plays, a reminder that the greatest achievements come not from skill alone, but from humility, faith, and the willingness to seek divine assistance when we recognize the limits of our mortal abilities. And in his forge along Sanjo Avenue, Munekika continued his work, forever grateful for the divine intervention that had blessed him. He never again saw the mysterious boy, but sometimes, on quiet evenings when the forge fire burned low, he would catch a glimpse of golden fox shadows dancing at the edge of his vision, and he would smile, knowing that his prayer had been answered by powers far greater than himself.